So I need to plant my beets. And I have more than 10 minutes, but maybe only a half hour. But I was thinking the other day, can I grow food and keep a garden and feed my family in 10 minutes a day? Is that even possible? I would like to say the answer is probably yes. And here's why. It's that time of year where my fall starts are all over the tables outside of my back door and yet not planted yet. A little later than most years. And yet I am in a frenzy to harvest because there's so much good stuff coming in. Let me show you what I'm doing today, which is going to be planting out my beets. And I want to give you a glimpse at all these fall starts because it is a little crazy around here. Welcome to Scofield Farm. Yes, these are my fall starts, still on the table in the middle of October. And these are my beets. And can I get them planted before I have to run out again to get kids from different events like dance? That is the real question. These are so cute, little lettuces, just waiting for me to put them in. It was over 100 degrees forever, it seemed, in October. And so all these little baby plants had to wait for the weather. And then after waiting for the weather, there's a fire not too terribly far from us, so we've had to wait for the smoke. So I got home from visiting my son in Southern California last night, went straight to 2 soccer games because that's what we do in our family when we're not working on our homestead. And I woke up this morning all motivated and ready to work in the garden to transplant my beets, and it was horribly smoky. There are blessings to living in Northern California, and there's things I don't like, and I'd have to say all the smoke is definitely something I don't care for. Hello, chickens. How are you? Do you think I have something for you? Because I don't. I just have to get in the garden. Sorry to disappoint you all. So the garden is quite lovely right now. Once again, it's golden hour and the flowers are beautiful. The cherry tomatoes are so out of control and they need to be picked. But that all depends if I can get the beets planted. I mean, really, the sun going down behind this oak tree and the eucalyptus, I love it. Okay, so I wish I could say that I had planned out exactly where these would go, but I came out here and I took a look. I was thinking about putting them in front of the cherry tomatoes. I always let my tomatoes finish up and then I cut them at the soil level line. That way I don't really disturb the soil beneath. The roots can kind of decompose. All that to say, I was gonna do it in front of the cherry tomatoes on the west side. And I'm looking and there's not the room there that I thought there was. So I'm gonna do a quick pivot. Maybe I'll put some in there, maybe I'll put some in another bed, but I kind of wanna show you what I do, chat with you while I do it, because guys, I have a whole video about making bone meal, and I don't know if that's backwards or forwards, but it's short. It's not the best produced video, but it shows you how simple it is to make it. We like to make our own bone broth. We roast the bones afterwards. I'll put a link in the description below because it's a great way to use all of an animal to not waste anything, but also different fertilizers can get expensive, pricey, and bone meal is really good for root veggies like beets. So I included this in planting my beets last year. I haven't done it a lot in the past. My beets did better last year than they have done literally years. I mean, the best they've done on this property. Definitely using our homemade bone meal to plant again. Super simple, super affordable because we did it ourselves. Check out that video if you want to do it after you watch this one, because I want you to hang out with me. I told you guys, we've got a lot of fall planting. We are in Northern California, Zone 9B, Scofield Farm. Well, we grow food year round, and that is awesome in some ways, and it's like a ton of work, always working in other ways. And I love to have company, so I like you guys to hang out with me while I do this work. You've got to see the pretty view that I have while I'm talking to you. These zinnia are so tall and so beautiful, and they are just doing their thing, growing mostly in my paths. The year of the zinnia. I love it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and plant some under the cherry tomatoes. It's super messy, but by the time they need to get up and grow, I think that we will have cut these back. Usually our cherry tomatoes keep giving until our first frost. Our first frost here, we're zone 9B in Northern California, can be anywhere from like, goodness, I would say like often mid-November. We've had it early December before last year. I'll link to the video of us cleaning up for first frost. It was so early. It was actually before the end of October, and that's not normal for us. It was the first time for me that I've had this happen gardening. So that shows you not very normal. I've gardened and grown food for about 15, 16 years now. Yeah, that was a new one for me. But I think putting it under here, as these fade, the beets will be growing and it will be a good win-win situation. But I think I have more beets than I have room. Some of them look pretty sad. As I said, I actually had a trip to see my son who's in school in Southern California. You'll see this one kind of is wilted. My husband tried to keep these alive. It was so hot. I told him to keep bottom watering because they're in these tiny little cell trays to transplant, and I think some were overwatered. So I'm planning on planting kind of right down here. It looks a little messy. It looks a little crowded. Here is an old calendula stump. I don't think that one's coming back, but I'm just gonna brush stuff aside. I think I actually randomly have a shovel I found. Brush stuff aside a little bit, and I'm gonna just space them out, put in some bone meal, throw this in real fast. I have a kid to pick up from dance. I don't have a lot of time, but every window of time we can get something done in the garden, right? Now I'm gonna kind of brush my wood chips away. I'm not gonna totally remove them because I love having mulch on my garden, both in the heat of the summer, but also in the cool, wet winter. I feel like it just balances things out. It keeps weeds from growing, but it also can absorb water as well as cool the soil from heat. And I'm gonna just make little holes. Let's see, I'm trying to think about how far apart, maybe about 6 inches apart. And I'm gonna get this beet garden going. Now these trays are pretty cool. I like them. They're the kind Charles Dowding uses. He actually does multi-sowing with beets. I do it because when I direct sow beets, I have such a problem with little tiny critters eating the seeds or birds or whatever. So I just pop out the bottom. There's like a little hole in the bottom, and I'll get my beet. Sometimes it's a group of them, and then I'm gonna plant it right in, sprinkle around some bone meal, put mulch back, water it in, be done. It's a super simple process, but I love beets. It's like candy to me. I think I'm the one in my family who likes them the most. They are such a treat. I don't grow them like tons and tons and tons like some people, but I always grow enough that I have some delicious little treat to enjoy. Now literally what I'm doing is I just popped this little beet in the ground. I put a little bit, this might be gross for some of you to touch the bone meal, but a little bit of bone meal around it, and then I will move the wood chips back over it and water stuff in. Now spacing wise, I'm thinking about 6 inches. I think that is about 6 inches right there. That way, I think 4 to 6 inches is great. But this little grouping, it has lots. That's why I'm getting a little more room so that that little grouping has room to grow. Let's put a little bit of bone meal in there. As I said, I'm not perfect in any means by my measurements. I just kind of do the thing and see how it turns out. I think gardening is something that's really easy that way. Experiment, see if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, do something different next time. Here, I want a little more bone meal over there. Now, I really like to do kind of like a checkerboard style with my planting of pretty much anything. I feel like you can fit a little bit more planting in there when you do that. That's what I'm doing here. Maybe I need to plant them a little bit deeper. I want them similar soil level to where they were in their little tray. I like the ones that have many in there. There would have been more if I would have planted them before I left to visit my son in Southern California, but we had smoke the day before leaving, so I waited to be greeted coming back home with smoke again. Fires in California are a no fun combination. So I have some fall starts that I am selling locally, and I got the kindest note from a gal, someone I've been friends with for a long time, who bought a few fall starts from me just thanking me for helping make growing food affordable for people. And that really blessed my heart because that really is something that I want to do. There's a saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he's going to eat for a lifetime. I feel the same about growing food. We grow a certain amount of food. We have a big family. We have 9 people in our family, 7 kids, 5 boys, 2 girls. We grow a lot of food, and I still don't feel like we probably grow enough to really be sustainable off of our garden alone. But I like to try to start extra starts, sell a little bit of extra produce when we have it, because I feel like it's a way to help my local community. And I talked about that a little bit in a video I made about my why for homesteading. My why for being prepared for things possibly going wrong in our food system, which we all know in some ways it already is. Inflation is through the roof for food. And a lot of us, our incomes haven't gone up. We can't afford things at the grocery store that we could afford even a year ago. So I like to grow what we can, but I also like to encourage my friends, my family, my neighbors to grow something and be there to help support them and do what I can so that we are more community minded and not just a self-sufficiency minded. I think thinking that we can do everything ourselves is really short-sighted because we need each other. We were made to be communal people. That's how we thrive, you know? This is a fall garden I almost didn't plant. A lot of you who've been around a while know that I had shoulder surgery in January, and I've had a lot of physical limitations, some stuff with my back even, had to walk with a walker in May and June, which was crazy. I'm only in my 40s. But I'd had a lot of discouragement and burnout. I thought maybe I'll just take a break. Look at this gross scrub. This is going to the chickens. However, I kept feeling this nagging feeling that I needed to go ahead and do a fall garden, not just for me, but for my community. Whether it's, I don't know, am I going to be sharing food? Am I going to be sharing starts like my friend who picked up a few fall starts for me today? I don't know exactly how that translates, but I feel like growing food and growing this fall garden has some sort of significance, so I'm doing it. I've learned a lot from having a big family about how to do things more in moderation, how to take little windows of time and not be so all or nothing person. I often want to either be out here for like 5-6 hours at a time or not come out here at all. And that's not the way actually doing something sustainable really works. The best way to be sustainable in gardening is to be consistent, is to come out the little windows of time I have to plant a couple beets, even though I have a lot of other starts to plant, a lot of other things to harvest, a lot of other stuff to do, but doing the little I can in maybe 10-minute increments of time. I think that's what has kept me gardening. I think otherwise I might have quit a long time ago if I thought it had to be these big chunks of time that looked an ideal way at an ideal time of day in ideal circumstances with no other pressing needs and responsibilities. I think my brain's kind of wired to think these huge grandiose ideas that don't always exist in a real world. Some people call it idealistic. I think they're right. I don't think idealism is a great thing because I think it can paralyze us from doing what we need to do in front of us, or at least it did for me. And so planting a few starts at a time, it's me actually not burning out. For me, it's what actually keeps me from quitting altogether. 10 minutes at a time, maybe 30 minutes, but it's something. It's not nothing. So definitely not perfect, but these are spaced out what I can in this little tiny section of my garden. I'm gonna go to the next free section and start there. Doing what I can in a little window I can adds up to a whole lot of something from what otherwise does not seem like enough to get anything done. But these will be beets that I will enjoy. My future self will thank me for coming out here in a tiny window of time and doing just the next right thing, the next task in front of me, even if it only takes me a few minutes, even if I don't finish this tray, I can do it later. A little is better than nothing. A little is something. I definitely am tempted by all that I need to harvest. Say no to myself. No, Carice. Do one thing at a time. Do not get distracted. Do the little. Don't focus so much on the much, but I'm telling you, I definitely am tempted to focus on the much, but I'm gonna run out of time. There's something about getting dirty in the dirt that does it for me too. I love being out in the garden. I love garden therapy. I love grounding with my fingers in the soil and just getting a tiny bit of that on a day that has been crazy busy, that's been full of other things like smoke and headaches. This is so therapeutic and helpful. The secret to overcoming burnout is being realistic with myself. It's amazing how much you can get done in just a few minutes of time. It's amazing how much I talk myself out of spending the few minutes of time because it's not ideal and it doesn't seem like it's going to make a difference. It's amazing how much doing little things like making our own bone meal can actually help further my goals of growing food and growing bigger food. Baby steps, people. Baby steps. I am a believer of baby steps. Some of these, they look so sad. I wonder if they will perk up after being out here in the real soil. I have been thinking a lot about burnout lately because I personally have honestly felt burned out. I felt like life has been really overwhelming. There's so much going on. I have so many other things I could be spending my time on. Is this worth it? Is this something that I feel like I can put my brain power to? Not just my physical body to, but my brain power, my energy, my emotions. And it sounds funny because I've been growing food for a long time, but everyone has different seasons and everyone has different trials. And this year has definitely been one of trials. It's definitely been one where it's made me reassess a lot of things that maybe felt like no duh to me in the past. Like really think about what I really wanted. And I'm sure there's someone out there that can relate. The thing you love might be the thing that you're afraid is going to burn you out. Or maybe you're already burned out. Maybe you need to take a break. And that honestly happens. It doesn't mean we don't love something, but I would love to encourage someone out there that there's a way forward without giving into burnout. And I really am convinced that often the way forward is doing something and committing that I don't have to do everything. I am in no way deceived that I can do everything, but if I do something, it seems like that's another way to not burn out, is to know doing something is better than doing nothing. In doing the little before me, I'm going to actually make progress in the things I value, in my goals. It feels like I'm giving myself a pep talk. I am giving myself a pep talk. I can do this. I can do hard things. I can do things limited, short amount of time. I keep looking to see if that leaf is a hornworm, but I think it's just a curled leaf. It really is worth it to do things when we don't feel like it. It really is worth it to go out and to plant the garden, to go out and to do the harvest, to go out and clean up the garden. Every little bit does add up to be a lot of something that is valuable. I definitely am gonna have to find another area to plant in because I have more beets than I have space right here, but that's okay. We make things work, right? We make things work. Things don't have to look perfect. Things don't have to be ideal to be valuable. The things we do, the little things we do, the little steps we do, they're valuable, they matter, they will make a difference. I can grow a ton of food in 10 minutes a day. All right, so we gotta go. I'm making this decision totally on the whim of where I'm gonna put this. I hope I don't regret it, but I'm gonna do them over here where beets have done pretty terrible for me in the past. I think I have a little bit of onions growing here that were somehow not harvested. This last year was a little crazy. Here's a cute Bride's Atomic grape. We will save this for later. You know, sometimes I don't feel like coming out to the garden and I have every reason in my mind why I'm too busy. By the time that I have to dedicate, it won't really make a difference. But when I come out here, it's like me tending to the garden is really the garden tending to me. I feel more peace. I feel like a quietness, a stillness. I like to listen to the birds. I like to listen to the chickens. I guess chickens are birds. But I feel happier and more balanced when I actually get out here, even when it might be as little as 10 minutes a day. Once I get out here, it often becomes more than 10 minutes. And so I guess, does that mean that you can grow food for your family in 10 minutes a day? Yes. And maybe that 10 minutes you'll want to turn into more, because I know sometimes I do. I'm so close to finishing, and it is definitely time to drive across town to get my daughter. I would say that this was a pretty successful day, and no, I did not get it done in 10 minutes. But yes, I will get it done before I have to leave, and the smoke held its bay, and I can actually breathe out here in peace. So I'm pretty thankful. This has been a good planting time. If you need a break, take a break. A lot of climates naturally have a break over winter, but don't quit. Don't quit. Do the thing. Do a little bit of the thing. Commit to get out there for 10 minutes. Commit to get out there for the little bit of time you have and see what can happen. And maybe that will multiply to more time, or maybe it will just be 10 minutes. But you will be happier that you did something instead of quitting and doing nothing. That soil was pretty wet, so I don't really think I need to water it in, but I might just give it a light sprinkling just to help it settle in overnight. I think the sprinkler is gonna go off tomorrow. I have not reset it since the 100-degree heat left from being every day. I don't claim to have all the answers, guys. I know I don't. I mean, here I am trying to talk myself into doing the right thing, doing the small thing ahead of me and not quitting. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you do to motivate yourself when you feel really overwhelmed? Like the thing you need to do is the thing that you definitely do not feel like doing. How do you keep yourself motivated? This fun hose reel, it's from my family. Oh my gosh, I can't get it to move. Ah! Trying to make my job a little easier in the garden. Oh, maybe if I turned it on. Look how pretty these flowers are. They are unreal. Celosia. I love them. Little sprinkling. And now off to get my little girl. Ah. And the sun says it's off as well. If we really want to be gardeners, if we really want to grow food, if we really want to feed our family, we have to have something that gets us through the times that we just don't feel like it. Let me know in the comments below, what is it that gets you through the times? Is it like a commitment to 10 minutes like me? Do you have something else that helps you get through? I'd love to hear. I'm gonna take off, but I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me as I do this fall planting. I know these beets are gonna really pay off. Hopefully you subscribe and come again, because I'm thinking an October garden tour is due very soon.